everyone, and welcome to Daily Newspaper Analysis, which is brought to you by LawSikho. So today we will do the analysis for the newspaper articles for 25th and 27th September. So all in all, we have 4 lengthy articles today. So definitely we will take the discussion. It might take a little longer, but we'll try to cover up all the articles in good detail. The first one is from the Indian Express, which is titled as For a Rainbow Classroom. So as we know that the color of rainbow is also the color that is taken for the LGBTQIA plus community, which is taken as a pride color for them. So this talks about our education system becoming more inclusive of the other genders as well. So what are the problems in this direction and what can be done has been discussed in this article. The second one is from the Hindu, which is titled as When Global Firms Disengage, Employments Suffer. So this talks about the problem when the FDI, like we have recently seen the example of Ford, so it has closed down, it is shut down in India. So when such foreign direct investments shut down in the country, what impact does it lay on the employment status of the people has been discussed here. The third article is from, again, the Hindu newspaper, which is titled as Investigation with a Face but Without a Heart. So this talks about the recent investigation which was taken or which was done by the Income Tax Department on the news channels or the news firms like News Laundry. So why such investigations are not really called for and what are the issues with such kinds of investigations, the legal issues have been discussed here. And finally, we have the article from the Indian Express, which is titled as Assam's land conflict over the Guru Khuti project. So what this Guru Khuti project is, what is this conflict between the migrants and the locals, we will discuss over here. This newspaper analysis is presented by me. My name is Sheva Khan. I am a law graduate and I had completed my law degree from Uttaranchal University in the year 2019. I was also the batch gold medalist. I also have been a national debater and a public speaker, and here at LawSikho, I'm working as the expert for current affairs, and I'm also managing the current affairs vertical. If you wish to connect with me, you can find me on my Twitter as well as LinkedIn handles. The links to both are available in the description box below. Let's see what is the multiple choice question from previous discussions. Which among the following schemes have been launched by the central government to provide free LPG connection to the below poverty line families? Your options are PMKVY, PMSBY, PMJDY or PMUY. The short forms have been used. Be careful to choose your answer. Let's see what is the descriptive question for the day. Discuss Assam's land conflict over the Guru Khuti project. With this, let's quickly start a discussion for the first article of the day, which talks about encouraging a more inclusive classroom, which we also can call as the rainbow classrooms. So the Prime Minister recently in his speech at the Shiksha Parv conclave emphasized the need of education being more inclusive and equitable. Now here in this particular article, when we talk about the education being inclusive or equitable, we are primarily talking or we are primarily focusing upon making it inclusive and equitable for the people from non-binary genders. Now, what these non-binary genders are, we need to understand, and why it is important for them also to be equitably included in the education system has been discussed here. So in the same week, the Kerala High Court also chided the fact, which means that it actually brought forward the fact with a lot of dismay that the medical books also observed the non-binary gender identities as offensive perversions and mental disorders. Now this comes to great surprise that being homosexual. Now let's understand firstly that what do we actually mean by the non-binary genders. See, generally 2 genders are considered to be as the binary genders, male and female, right? Now, other than that, if we have a transgender person or something like that, it is considered to be as a non-binary gender. Surprisingly, the medical books that are actually taught in the country in the medical schools, they consider these non-binary gender identities as offensive and also as mental disorders. Now, this definitely is a big thing to worry about, because please understand, everyone who is listening to this analysis today, that being homosexual is not at all a mental disorder. It is nothing, it has got nothing to do with your mental ability or something. You can be very much mentally able and still you could be a transgender, you could be a gay, a lesbian, a queer or anything like that. So please consider that mental disorder is something to do with the sanity of your mind. And this one, the choice, the sexual orientation that you have. So that has got nothing to do with your mental, stability or mental sanity or something like that. Also, interestingly, we should note that in the year of 1980s, during the 1980s, even in USA, these things, being a lesbian or a gay or a transgender, basically belonging to a non-binary gender identity, it was also considered to be as mental disorder, but then it was strictly removed from the list of the mental diseases, and now it has definitely been considered just as equal to the other binary identities. So similarly, in India also, just consider that in the education system of even the medical schools that actually deal with the biology of the body, the hormones and everything, even if the doctors are made to learn that these are all non-binary genders are mental disorders, what can we really expect from the people who have no knowledge absolutely whatsoever of the body and the hormones? So definitely it was very much, it was considered to be as a dismal by the Kerala High Court that it should be completely removed from such textbooks in the medical schools. The Madras High Court also raised the issue of queer phobia in medical textbooks earlier. And if you remember, recently a very amazing judgment of the Madras High Court had also come that if at all any attempt is made to change the gender preference or, to change the gender or such of any person who chooses to be someone else, it should be considered as a criminal offense and there could be no, treatment whatsoever for this thing. Because see, if you are going on a treatment, then definitely you need to have some problem for that. Not even if just you don't know, if you don't even have a problem, then what are you going to treat? So just like this is not at all any kind of mental, physical, or any disorder whatsoever. It is absolutely normal and it is something that you get from the nature, just like we have our eyes, our hair, our skin color, and everything. So we need to accept that the way it is. So let's understand that what is the condition of the transgender community in the current scenario. So most of them are marginalized community, including educationally also they are highly marginalized. As per the 2011 census, 4.8 million transgenders in India were there, and the literacy rate is 46% as compared to 74% of the general population. So this clearly shows that the education system is definitely not inclusive and equitable for these transgender communities. Then, according to 2017 NHRC, that is the New National Human Rights Commission report, it states that 2/3 of the transgender students drop out of school before class 10th. And in 2020, only 19 transgender students sat for class 10 exams out of total 18 lakh appearing. So can you see that what minuscule, even minuscule is a big word to use over here, number of transgenders actually sat for their 10th examinations. And definitely even if they're not appearing for their 10th examinations, 11, 12, college and other kind of higher education is a far sought dream. So the schools themselves resort to cruelty in order to correct, so-called correct such students. Now this again, is something that, they counsel the parents, they counsel the students. Many a times, I've heard that what the school teachers, the principals, what they do is that if, let's say that there is a boy who is a gay, so what they do is that they make him stay more with the girls, that maybe he might develop some feelings for the women. Now, this is absolutely, it's a bogus concept. It is a bogus attempt whatsoever you do it. If that person is naturally not inclined towards the opposite sex, if that person is not naturally inclined towards, let's say, if he's a guy, so he's not inclined towards a girl, or vice versa, anyone cannot do it on purpose. No medication, no operations, nothing can make you do that. Just, here, guys, let's just take a moment and try to understand a situation that, for example, there is a man who is a straight man, right? He is, generally, naturally is attracted towards women. Now, if we ask this man that, no, you do not have to be attracted towards this woman or any woman, you have to make yourself adjust to the fact that you have to get yourself attracted to another man. Do you think it is possible for that straight man to do? Absolutely not, right? Now, you better give him any medicines, you better give him any medications, treatments, operations, etc. He would not be able to do that. Yes, forcibly he might. That's not a thing that we are talking about here. But through his own sexual orientation, never ever in his lifetime can he do that. Thus, similar is the case with the people who are homosexual. Since they feel sexually towards their own sex, towards their own gender, we cannot make them feel that way for the other gender if we just want them to. So please just consider this over here. So there is nothing, there is no situation to be corrected at all. So here, there was an instance which was reported in which a reputed school in Kolkata humiliated 10 students for being lesbians in a case on point. And thus, many a times students also experience physical bullying by other colleagues as well. So here the article also offers some very good paths that we can use in the way of reform. So it says that the National Education Policy 2020 recognizes transgenders as a marginalized community and that there is a need to include them in the education policies. Also, we should be able to build the LGBTQ plus community inclusive curriculums so that maybe, such activities that can be done to increase the awareness of the people about this entire issue, or maybe such activities that can bring them forth anything that they are more interested in. Definitely those activities can be included in the curriculums. The teachers will have to come forward to make schools a safe and supportive environment for the LGBTQIA plus students, by regular counseling, by being there as a support, by not bullying them, on purpose. So all these things the teachers should be doing. Then a significant change to the way we communicate needs to be changed. Now here is a very, very small though, but a very important point that can actually bring a drastic and a very positive change in the coming times. For example, we use the term husband or wife, that he is my husband or she is my wife. Instead of these gender specific words, what we can do is that we can make use of words like partners. Now, in this case, you do not need to specify as to how that other person belongs to you. You just can, quote your companionship with that person. So, for example, he or she is my partner. That will actually resolve the issue. That will actually let people know that, yes, you guys may cohabit, you might be in love, you might be married or something like that. You do not need to specify as to he or she is your husband or wife. Thus, gender neutral language is to be encouraged and active efforts must be made to incorporate them. Then, comprehensive sex education needs to be made compulsory in schools. Yes, 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 of course. There can be no denying to this fact that no matter what, comprehensive and open sex education is very, very important. And it's not just important in the school premises, but also it's important that the parents at the right time and at the right age, they also talk to their children and communicate them with the right things that they should know. Then, age-appropriate learning methods need to be incorporated, which focuses on teaching that homosexuality or gender-fluid behavior is not a disease or a mental disorder. And exactly what we are trying to do here also in this session, that yes, it is not a disease, it is not a mental disorder, and thus there is no situation that needs to be cured or treated. And lastly, the modern Indian classroom must also include the ideas of social diversity and social justice while encouraging forming queer groups as well. So that is why we should try to understand that someone can be different from us and yet can be right in his own way. And that is why we need to be more tolerant, we need to be more equitable, inclusive, justifiable, as well as to be more, to start living with open arms and open minds as well. With this, let's discuss the second article for the day, which talks about while global firms disengage, the employment suffers. So this says that there has been a report by the CMIE, that is the Center for Monitoring the Indian Economy. It states that the unemployment has gone from 7% to 8.3% in just 1 month. So in numbers, the change in the unemployment means 1.9 million people have lost their jobs in 1 month. Can you imagine that 19 lakh people have lost their jobs in just a span of 1 month? So the new jobs that came up in the non-farm jobs are deplorable in quality, which means that they definitely, they are not serving any big purpose. And thus the number is alarming even after the intersectoral absorption of employees who lost their jobs. Now here we need to understand that what is the sustainability of the employment system that we have in our country right now. So the laborers from the seasonal labor no longer have alternate job options for rotation. Now, as we know that there are some laborers who are seasonal in nature, let's say if this is a season for sowing something, if there is a season for harvesting something. So definitely in those times of the year, they definitely find better jobs for a time being. But for the rest of the year, they need to work in some other sectors, in some rotation, into some other kind of business. But that, vacuum is not being filled in the current scenario. Then the stressed market conditions require private investment due to stalled public investments, because obviously due to the condition of COVID-19, the public investment has not been very huge in this sector at least. Yes, of course, in the health and other sectors, the government has invested enough. But when it comes to the market conditions, specifically when it comes to employment, the government has not been able to do much. So that is why it says that private investment is something that we can look forward to. Then India has thus opted for the FDI, that is the foreign direct investment, to increase the ease of doing business factor and generate employment. Now, in such situations, what happens is that the countries from the outside, countries, they come, the companies from the outside countries, they come to our country and then they offer job opportunities, industrialization, etc. A good example of this could be, Amazon, it could be Google, it could be Ford, etc. But now we will also discuss the problem which was there with Ford. So, however, the sustainability of such employment is questionable due to frequent restructuring of the global levels, because obviously our terms and relationships with a particular country, how that company is performing at the global level, what are the new norms that this company might follow for the foreign or FDI things. So all of these things, or even how good a host are we for the foreign countries or the foreign companies. There are a lot of global factors basically, and even a few domestic but important factors that actually they restructure by every now and then. The frequent restructuring takes place in these FDI department, due to which huge fluctuation is seen in the employment levels of the country as well. One of the biggest problems of the FDI has also been mentioned over here is that the exit and disruptions. So basically there has been, a very slow employment growth in the manufacturing sector, which is a constant problem. And the FDI in the automobile sector could be a great news for India. But however, recently, as we know that the Ford, the company Ford is closing itself down in the country. This situation definitely is worrisome, and it is not just for the first time that a foreign country is shutting down in India. There have been previous examples as well, so which ultimately do not impact the employment system very well in the nation. So let's understand the last one, that is that talks about the permanency of this nature. So too much FDI activity gives rise to transnational corporations, which are the TNCs, and hence the mergers and acquisitions activity becomes too regular, which actually bring a lot of tussle and instability in the entire system. So this leads to frequent layoffs, and in addition to that, the trade policies have gathered growing skepticism as well, and that is why no long-term promise can be looked forward to. This leads to deeper reflection in existing and new investment, which means that the foreign firms are no longer operating for decades as per the earlier years, and now their span in a particular country has become quite shorter. Also, finally, the private investment and domestic finance needs to step up to address the growing unemployment. So definitely when we're talking about being Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant India, definitely FDIs are important for our growth all in all, and to maintain our global competitivity as well. But still, we need to make sure that our domestic private investment players, they are also, stepping up in the market, and they are actually fighting against this problem of growing unemployment. With this, let's discuss the third article for the day, which talks about investigations with a face but without a heart. So recently on 10th September, the Income Tax Department raided the premises of NewsClick and News Laundry, and the department confirmed that this was a survey to private news channels. So let's understand that what are the laws that are actually used when it is done. So Section 133A of the Income Tax Act authorizes the income tax personnel to enter the premises to inspect the books of the accounts, verify cash, stock, and other valuable items, and furnish information as per the needs of the authorities. We should note here that this survey that we're talking about can be carried out only when the premises are open. But here we need to note that for both NewsClick as well as the News Laundry, the officers came at the noon in the afternoon, and then they left at the midnight. And in this instance, the officers violated the law without any compunction, which means without any real guilt. They actually violated the law because it was actually done till midnight. So here, let's understand what is the court's view in this direction. So the Odisha High Court has stated previously that a survey, the so-called survey that we are talking about, needs to have a necessary, also, unspecified reasons as to why they are doing, and such reasons have to be recorded at the time of impounding, so done by the officers or the officials of the authority. So failure to do so is bad in the eyes of law. So it is not like that every, now and then you wish to go and raid a particular area, you wish to go and or do a survey on a particular, office or a premise, so you can just go right away and do it. No, that's not the case. And as per stated by Odisha High Court, you need to have, as in the authority needs to have specific and concrete reasons why this survey is being conducted. So let's understand about the details of the cases. So the CEO of the News Laundry was not allowed to contact. Now here are the things how the laws have been violated. That the CEO of the News Laundry was not allowed to contact his lawyer and even had to hand over his phone. The data on the system was downloaded without any search warrant, and the same was not handed over to the CEO, to which he has a right. Also, the same had occurred to the employees of the NewsClick as well. All fundamental rights were suspended, connections cut off, and were subject to arrest, for 12 hours. So this definitely is their, a violation of their right to movement, as in, right to movement as well, their right to freedom as well. Of course, their right to communication, that is right to, information as well. So there were so many fundamental rights that were being violated. So the papers were taken and that were not shown under any list. And the question is that, is the income tax department above the law? And definitely we all know the answer that no, it is not, and it can never ever be above the constitution. So let's understand that what were the biggest issues here when we can sum up them together. The issue that arises is that how easy it is for the authorities to harass the citizens and the individuals. Definitely we can see in this case as well. Also, the unaccountable assertion of authority is now being propagated viciously. The individual rights are no longer respected, and they're no longer being, and they are being infringed rather every now and then. Also, in the real sense, are these authorities going to be held accountable? Journalists should now resign, as that would ensure the path of least resistance. So they have become subjects to test democratic resilience, and that definitely should not be the one. And the constitutional officers ought to take notice of the same and not turn a blind eye to this situation and this clear daylight violation of the fundamental rights of the individuals. With this, let's discuss the last article for the day, which talks about Assam's land conflict over the Garukhuti project. So the land eviction drive in Dholpur for the Garukhuti project took a violent turn in which 2 people have died and several have been injured. The CM, the Chief Minister, has initiated a judicial probe on this. So let's understand about everything about the eviction drive. So basically what is happening is that the Bengali speaking Muslim communities, they are being evicted from this area to free the land for the indigenous or the local landless communities. The motive of the violence predates the political regimes. Let's see how. So the indigenous people have long claimed that the land which we are talking about here has been usurped. By usurpation we mean has been taken away by the migrants. But the migrants claim that they have bought it, but we do not really have quite much of legal validity to this kind of claim. So 200 families filed a petition to the court, but the government demolished their houses before the petitioners could file a reply. So this definitely is very much violative of the law. And presently it is said that 63 lakh bighas, that is of the government land, is illegally being occupied. So the evictions that are taking place have no supporting rehabilitation plans as well, that people who would be evicted, would they even be, rehabilitated by the government or not? So nothing such is also being promised to them as yet. Also, a lot of these occupied lands are indigenous people themselves. So, a lot of these people, who have occupied these lands are themselves the indigenous people. So even they have to face the brunt of this. And thus, shifting cultivators have also stayed back on these lands as well. So basically, there are some people who are indigenously, who belong to this place. Some other ones who came as the migrants, some other ones who came as the shifting cultivators. So the finance minister in her budget speech had referred to the Dholpur eviction drive to free 77,420 bighas. But definitely if the government is taking such steps, so it should look forward that it should at least it should rehabilitate the people that it is actually taking out from such area. So the eviction drive has significantly increased since the present government came to power. And if nothing else, the eviction processes are extremely dehumanizing and lacks any systematic approach as well. So definitely the things have to be systematic. It has to be very much rational also, and it should be proportionate as well. So this was all for the day. Thank you so much for joining in. We hope you liked and enjoyed the session. Do not forget to catch the podcast discussion of the very same analysis on Spotify, Google, Anchor, as well as Apple Podcast. Also, if you wish to download the PDF of today's slides, you can join our Telegram channel. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply scan the QR code that you can see on your screens right now. Also, for other crisp and exam-oriented content, do not forget to follow us on our official Instagram channels for Law Seeker Judiciary, CLAT Prep, UGC Net, as well as for legal law finance exams. Thank you so much.